Hello, it's Cheryl here and welcome back to the Made on Sundays channel. Today I thought I would do kind of like a more casual, chatty tea-side chat with you. I've got my iced tea here, so if you want to join me, bring out your tea. But today I wanted to talk about my kind of experience learning and getting into astrology and spirituality in general, and how I really got even more into it in the last year. And in fact, a few weeks ago, I saw an astrologist for the first time, which was crazy. Didn't think I would ever do this or spend the money on that, but it was like a one-on-one coaching session to learn more about my life mission, but also understand how that would impact my business, because I'm in my first year of business right now. I am in a service-based industry as a graphic designer, so my life and my purpose and my brand, my personal brand, is incredibly important. And I kind of realized that learning about spirituality and astrology, especially to understand myself so that I can serve my clients better and be more in flow with my life and business, it has made such a big difference. And so I just wanted to share that one-on-one session that I had with an astrologist and what I learned from it and how I feel like it's applicable to the growth of my business. And in fact, my astrologist is actually so exciting, is offering all of my viewers here with a 15% discount code. So watch the end of video and I will be providing you with a 15% discount code for the same one-on-one coaching session that I had with my astrologist. So all super exciting, but if you're interested in anything about, combining spirituality, astrology, and into your service-based business, then keep watching to see my story. So I guess today's video, though, I wanted to talk specifically about my astrology journey. Astrology-wise, I've always been super into reading, 17 magazine, or even on newspaper growing up in the 90s. The monthly astrology reading is always super popular thing to do. So I've always been into that, and I guess growing up, you really only heard about knowing your sun sign. So your sun sign is the sign of your birth month. So for me, I was born in January, so my sun sign is in Capricorn. So growing up my whole life, that's all really I knew about astrology was I'm a Capricorn. So all of the kind of personality traits of being a hard worker, being an overachiever, having no emotions, and just heads down, hardworking. And that's kind of who I felt like I was because growing up my whole life, even in high school and university, I was a hard worker. I've always done well. I was pretty much kind of a straight A student throughout my whole life because I worked really hard. I was never super smart, but I knew how to study and I knew how to work the system. And so I was kind of that overachieving, all-rounded student in school. And so, throughout kind of the first half of my life, that's the Capricorn personality was who I kind of resonated with. But as I grew older, I started feeling less of that Capricorn person or personality trait. And so, over the years, I felt like career wasn't my number one priority. I didn't want to climb up the corporate ladder as much. I enjoyed what I did most of the time, but it was the connections that I made that were more important to me. And I didn't feel I was starting to feel more and more like an introvert, where I really enjoyed being at home, doing homely things, chores, and all of that kind of was what I was moving towards, it seemed like. Like, I didn't really want to put so much emphasis in being like, you know, the leader or a manager, or, you know, kind of work up that corporate chain. And so I guess after graduation, you know, I got that corporate job and I've been there for 6 years, and I know some of you know that story of mine. But last year I decided to pack my bags with my husband, and we moved to Amsterdam for a different kind of lifestyle. And that's where I kind of decided that I wanted to live a more flexible lifestyle where I can you know, choose my own time and be more in flow with my life. So basically, I had more time to read more about astrology, and I was watching a video by Lavender. I think Eileen was talking about astrology and some of the books that she was recommending on spirituality. And one of the books that she recommended was The Inner Sky. And I immediately was like, you know what, if I have this time, this was like right at the beginning of the pandemic, by the way, so I had a lot of time on my hand because my business was definitely impacted during that time. That book opened up my eyes to a whole new world of astrology that I didn't even know about, and it was crazy. So I, you know, started learning how to chart my birth chart, like all of the different signs and planets that were coordinated to the moment I was born. And so in order to get your birth chart, you actually need your date of birth, the time of your birth, and also the location, so the time zone, basically, to make sure that like if you punch in your numbers, that they are getting the exact time of what the sky looked like on the moment you were born. And so this whole book kind of talks about like how to chart it, and then basically how to understand all the different things on this chart. And so I was like immediately just so inspired, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna learn about my life purpose and my mission. And I was experiencing this new life that I was living in Amsterdam with a new business, and for the first time I was on like a client-facing, service-based position. So I really wanted to know how to be the best I can be in order to serve my clients, but that also I am building a brand, a personal brand that I personally resonate with and are aligned with my values and goals. And so yeah, I was reading into it and I was charting it, and I learned honestly so much just reading that book itself. But there were a lot of things where it was left for kind of, you know, self-interpretation, right? And so with self-interpretation, there is a lot of creativity involved, but also just the more you read about astrology, the more links you can make and connections you can make to understand your chart better and then interpret your chart better. But I wasn't there yet, and honestly, I was so impatient because I was like, oh my gosh, this is too much reading, so much information. I have to like gather everything that I've learned and then try to like make sense of this chart that looks crazy. Here, I'll put up my chart like right here to kind of show you like a glimpse. Actually, I won't put up my chart because that's a lot of personal information, but I'll put up like an example chart of what a birth chart looks like. And when you first look at it, you're like, what the heck, this is so crazy. And it really is. And still to this day, I'm not an expert of reading charts and definitely not an expert in astrology. So as I was reading this book, I was like, you know what, I need to know more. I am going to hire a professional. This is exactly what I need right now. I want to get a professional who knows everything to kind of read my chart for me and help me make interpretations. And so I went on Facebook and kind of posted in a few groups to kind of see if there's any astrologers that are are offering this service. And I actually found an astrologer. She's called Hanna, and she's amazing. Her website is gorgeous, and so I went on it and I was like immediately just like, yes, this is what I want to do. She had this one-on-one coaching session. Well, I called it coaching session because I really felt like I was coached. And I'm just looking at her website right now actually to get the proper name. But it is called the Inner Blueprint, and it's a one-on-one. I think it was around an hour to like about an hour and a half, just depending on how the conversation goes. But it's called the Inner Blueprint reading, and she has this like beautiful landing page, and I was like, wow, like I really resonated with how she conducts her sessions with her clients, and the session is really flexible to what you need. So for me, I told her I had to like fill out this quick questionnaire and basically fill out my birth time and birth, all of that birth stuff, but also what I wanted to focus on. So I told her that I wanted to focus on like understanding more of my life purpose and mission, and also how that will help me understand whether I am going towards the right direction with my business. Because for me, as a service-based business, I really feel like my personal identity and how much I understood myself ultimately really helped me understand what I wanted to do with my business and how I can easily flow my life into my business into one harmonic kind of rhythm. And that's kind of what I wanted to achieve. So I went into that session a couple of weeks ago, and oh my gosh, it was so amazing. It was like talking to a friend. Hanna is so nice. I was kind of worried going into it because I didn't know what to expect. Like I didn't really know too much of the spiritual language, and I was like, what if I don't know what I'm even saying? And so anyways, she made me feel so comfortable, and it was like chatting with a friend, and I learned so much about my birth chart and my reading. So I thought I would just share a couple things that and I have it written on my iPad here. I thought I would share a couple things that I learned that I thought was so profound for me to understand my business. So let's kind of see this all in a whole. Most of my signs, and why I was like so interested in reading in my birth chart, was because like 80% of my planets in my birth chart were on the right side of the birth chart, and specifically almost all of them are in the Capricorn sign, which is crazy. Like I think I have 4 signs in Capricorn. No, more. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I have 5 signs in Capricorn, and then 4 of them are in the house of marriage. So when you look at the birth chart, there's actually 12 different houses. So there are 12 different houses, and then your planets are scattered depending on where the planets are when you were born, spread out into this chart and separated by the different signs. So all of mine were on the right side of my chart and in Capricorn, and mainly in my 7th house. And the 7th house is the house of marriage. And that is where my North Node was. So your North Node is actually like your life's purpose. So what is your life's purpose in this lifetime, and where are you heading towards? So that is kind of your North Node, and that was like the key sign. It's not really a sign, but a key node where I kind of wanted to focus on. Your South Node, which is actually 180 degrees opposite of your North Node, is your South Node is who you were in your past lives. Now, I don't know if you resonate with past lives, but if you don't want or don't really resonate with that, it's like your ancestral history. So where your past lives and your past ancestors have really brought on to who you are today. So your south node is who you reflect with naturally, because that's who you've lived as before, and then your north node is who you need to be and the purpose that you need to serve in this lifetime. And for me, my north node was also in Capricorn in the 7th house, the house of marriage. And reading that in the book at first, I was like, what the heck, like, what does it mean for my north node to be in Capricorn and in my house of marriage? So Capricorn is about, all about the hard worker and blah, 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 like study, work, achievements, goals, climb mountains, like that kind of stuff. And then my house of marriage is what I thought all about my marriage, me and my husband. And so I was like, does that mean, my life's purpose is to be a housewife and be able to take charge and take care of the home, and like that's basically my life's purpose? And I was like, I don't really feel like that resonates with me and who I actually want to achieve to be. Like, I'm not on this earth to be a housewife and that's about it. Could be part of who I am, most likely. I will be a wife living in my home, but I didn't really see that as my life mission. So I went into the session asking her this specifically, and what I learned was so profound in understanding is that the house of marriage is not necessarily just about you and your partner. It's about the one-on-one relationships within your life. And so that was like so eye-opening for me, because she said, yes, your marriage is one of those one-on-one relationships that you have, but you also have one-on-one relationships with your friends, with your family, with clients, with people that you meet that are able to have that one-on-one relationship with you. So it's all about nurturing kind of those relationships. And I was like, wow, that makes so much more sense, that, I really do feel that way. That maybe this life's purpose is to, and in order to achieve that perhaps, is to really nurture those one-on-one relationships. The other aspect I kind of learned more about was, how I said my north node is in Capricorn, and then the opposite south node is in Cancer. So my Cancer self, Cancer's personality is more fluid. It's pretty much excelling in their inner world. They are very independent, and they typically work best when they are alone. They're kind of like introverts, and so they are very in tune with themselves and spirituality, and so that's kind of who I felt like I was resonating with as I was growing up. And so I told my astrologer, and I was like, why am I feeling less like who I'm supposed to be, which is the Capricorn, and feel actually more resonated with the Cancer sign, which is who I was? And then she was like, that's exactly it, Cheryl. You feel more naturally inclined to be that Cancer self because, and Cancers are super emotional, which is, I'm pretty emotional. And so she was telling me, like, as you grew older, you understood yourself a lot more, and you were finally living your true self. And that's why who you naturally feel like you are is someone who you were in your past life, which was a Cancer. You were super independent. You really relied on yourself. You were in your inner world, and you were emotional, and I did a lot of things by myself, and that's where I kind of felt most comfortable. But she was telling me that I now need to go into living more into my Capricorn self, which is, and especially since it's in the 7th house, it's all about being able to now, get out into that inner world and now be with other people, being able to rely on other people's support, and nurture those one-on-one relationships where I can rely on and collaborate with. And that's honestly one of my biggest struggles, especially I've noticed since I started my business, because I'm very used to, DIYing my own stuff and, working everything on my own. And ever since I started my business, and in order to grow, you really need to be able to work with other people and collaborate and ask for support from other people. And so she basically told me that I was exactly leaning towards my mission now. Because I've started my business, I'm kind of, I have no choice. In order to grow my business, I must lean on other people and be able to ask for help, ask for support, and lean on those one-on-one relationships, especially on my marriage, in order to achieve these successes in my life, which ultimately leads to the mission in my life. And that was such a profound moment for me, because that is exactly where I feel like I struggle in my life, is to lean on support, ask for help. It's one of the hardest things I'm experiencing in the last year, especially since last year I moved to Amsterdam with my husband, and for the first time I had no friends, no family to support me, and I had no job to support myself. Throughout my whole life, I've always had like some sort of part-time job or full-time job where I financially supported myself as an individual. Even after me and my husband got married, we still had, those separate accounts. We had a shared account, but if we were to buy anything personal, we would use our own separate accounts, and that was kind of what I was most comfortable with. Ever since we moved to Amsterdam, in the beginning, I didn't have a job. My husband had the full-time job, and for the first time I was relying on this one shared account where I made no money to support us at the time, because I was working on forming my business. And so for the first time I really had to embrace my husband's support and be able to ask for help, and understanding that it is okay to do that at that time in place. So I kind of shared that experience with my astrologist, and she was just basically saying that that's exactly what that experience was there for me to learn, was to understand that it's okay to lean on others, and that I should definitely practice that more in my business. And I was like, wow, I will definitely try to do it and kind of incorporate that more into my business and my lifestyle of working with others. The whole time that I had this session with Hanna, she really guided me in the conversation and asked me questions and prompts, and honestly, a lot of the things that I got from this session, I felt like I already knew or intuitively knew, but coaching sessions and consultations like this are truly all about prompting the right conversations, and that is what her job was, to ask the right questions and prompts and guide me into kind of answering my own questions myself. And that's what a super professional person is meant to do. So even though I felt like I already kind of knew what was going on, because ultimately it was just understanding myself and who I'm meant to be, I really felt like the things that came out of it was very intuitive, and I just got to kind of say out loud who I felt like I am meant to be and what I resonated with and what she was saying. So I know some of you might be kind of like questioning, like, is it even worth my money? Is it worth my time? And is it worth getting into the spiritual space that, like, maybe you're not super spiritual or whatever? And that is completely your decision, whether that is something you want to even get into. But for me, I kind of viewed it as like a time. What you get into the session is what you put into it. And the more you're willing to open up and listen to the prompts and really answer vulnerably, and be willing to have those conversations that maybe you're not ready for, or maybe you don't necessarily feel like you always were that person. It's fine to go there with this person in this session. There were a lot of conversations that came up that I've never talked to anybody about, and yeah, it was a super emotional experience, and I was kind of surprised that I even said some of the things that I said out loud, but I just trusted the experience and trusted that there's no right or wrong answer in these sessions. What comes out, you can take whatever you learn that you feel like resonates with you, and drop what you don't feel like resonates with you. And that is ultimately the purpose of these kinds of sessions. And quite honestly, I feel like I got so much out of it. And coming out of it, I know so much more about myself. And by knowing more about myself, I feel like I can know more about the business that I want to build and grow. So anyways, this video is getting super long, but I hope it was interesting for you and maybe spark some interest in understanding why spirituality or anything within the realms of spirituality like astrology can be beneficial if you are growing a business. I really truly believe in this, especially if you are a service-based business and you're trying to build out your personal brand and design a work and life balance into that kind of flows seamlessly into what your core values are and beliefs are, and making sure that it is built so that you are moving towards the mission in your life. And that's ultimately what I want to share on this channel. But yeah, if you are at all interested in doing this inner blueprint session with Hanna, I'm going to link her website below. And if you go into her inner blueprint reading, you can get a 15% off with discount code Made on Sundays. So once you click in, when it asks for the coupon code, just type in Made on Sundays and you can get 15% off of her inner blueprint session. I am so excited. If you are at all interested in spirituality and astrology, or you maybe have done a session with Hanna, or after you've done your session with Hanna, please tell me what your experiences with spirituality and astrology is with your business. I want to know how you guys are incorporating that into your service-based industry and what you think about spirituality at all. Honestly, this world is new, but also not so new for me, and I love talking about this topic, as you can probably tell. So leave me your questions below, or maybe further topics in spirituality that you might be interested in for creative businesses. Yeah, I'd love to chat with you in the comments. Anyways, I hope you guys have a lovely rest of your day, and yeah, bye.